Hey, this is Seagrove, and I'm here with four amazing players. Yeah, let's get into it. Let them introduce themselves. Dan, you go ahead.
All right, I'm Danny. I've been playing the game for a while. I play for Team DDG, and I am from Florida.
All right, and Danny invented the Mega Man Genesect deck that I was hyped about when I first started playing. Isaiah, go ahead.
What's up, guys? I'm Isaiah Williams. I'm a member of Team DDG, and I'm a player from.
And I just won OCIC. Cool.
Yeah, just one OCIC.
Catron, welcome back. Go ahead.
I'm Michael Catron. I've been playing since juniors. I'm about as good as I was in juniors, so.
Two things about Catron. Number one, he's going to win Collinsville. And number two, he has 27 Twitter followers, so you can be one of the first by following him at MPTCG. It's right there on your screen. So, Finn, go ahead.
My name is Phinnegan Lynch. I have this website called cuttertap.com that you should check out. And I absolutely hated Danny's Mega Man Genesect list.
All right, very good. What was wrong with it?
It was just way less consistent than Dawn Fan, and there was plenty of fighting in that meta that he could have hit and just would have got dumpstered by, but he didn't, and then he got top 16, I got top 32, and I was furious.
13th place, I remember. All right, very good. So, we got Collinsville coming up. We just saw, obviously, OCIC. Isaiah was there, and he played Zapdos. Isaiah, is Zapdos the play for Collinsville?
Possibly. I'm gonna go with a possible for that one.
Solid possibly.
Yeah, there's some Muck is an issue, and I'm sure everyone's going to be putting Grimers in their Zoroark deck, so that's something to think about. But there are some strategies to get around that. I think, like maybe the Europeans seem to have a sort of idea about already on how to get around that with Zebstrika and Nileo and Buzzwall. So that's maybe
okay. Finn, what do you think about Zapdos on the whole?
Super good, dude. I think there's definitely things you can do about it with like multiple archetypes that can be built differently to beat it, and that's what I would play. But just objectively, Zapdos is really good, and I did not give it enough credit when it came out.
Okay. Danny, you played the same list, is that right?
Yeah, I did.
You had 3 escape ropes. Talk about that. We mentioned that earlier.
So the 3 escape ropes are just because a lot of the time on turn 1 you get more value out of escape roping up something that has low HP on bench, and then that value also comes with starting to win the prize trade from turn 1, which in a single prize deck will obviously put you ahead for the entirety of the rest.
All right. And would switch, so never switch just because you want that, you want them to you want to force a switch turn 1?
Well, so the thing about Switch is that it's a good card because Switch in the deck is essentially the same thing as like Acrobike or Judge Whistle. It's an item card that lets you grab a card. Because you can because a Switch will always will most of the time turn into a Jirachi. And so Switch pretty much is a card that says, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose any trainer card you find there, put it into your hand. So having a bunch of these cards is really good, and then it's also really good for Absol. But Switch, while it's consistent and gets you where you need to be as far as your board state, it does nothing to hinder your opponent. So I think the 3-3 split is the best way to have the most options turn 1 to mess with your opponent's board.
Okay. Catron, any other hot takes on Zapdos?
No, not really.
Okay. So of the big decks, which one did you like the most, Catron? Of the big 4?
Definitely Zapdos. I did not expect it to be as strong as it was. The variant that for Zapdos that I thought was definitely the strongest was the Lycanroc that Carl Peters played.
Okay.
I thought that was super strong. The ability to target the bench that easily seemed really good.
Nice. So going into Collinsville, if you were not playing Zapdos, what deck are you hoping to play to beat it?
Probably Zoroark with Muck. I don't know what variant of Zoroark, but definitely Muck.
Okay. Finn, is Zoroark definitely the deck of the Zoroark variants?
Yeah. One Zoroark or the other Zoroark. I don't know if you guys saw, but the Energy Denial Zoroark actually won in seniors. That was kind of interesting. I feel like there's some potential there maybe, but most likely just like the regular Bloodthirsty Eyes Lycanroc. I think playing a 2-1 Muck line is like super good in that for the upcoming meta. So yeah, I don't think there's any other Zoroark variant. I mean, maybe Zoropod could come back at some point, but probably not. I mean, Blacephalon's going down in popularity, so maybe, but yeah.
To my shame, I didn't know Zoroark won seniors. I've been working on a denial deck actually with that.
Yeah, it was like a Zoroark with the one that
Removes
like
the nutrient.
hammers as the ability, right?
Yeah, like the old Crawdon.
Yeah, I was when I was on the stage after the finals match, I turned to the senior who won because I'm a control player naturally, so I was like super happy to see that happen. That he won with that. I turned to him and I was like, "Hey man, I really like your deck. Congratulations!" And he's like, "Yeah, man, I really like your videos," and it was just like made my whole day. That was better. That was awesome.
That's awesome. That's super cool. Awesome. Are there any other control decks worth looking at, Danny?
So I think that Zoroark control right now has a little bit of an issue with Pikarom and the sheer speed of some of the decks in the format, maybe even Ultra Necrozma and their heavy switch lines. So there's a lot of things that really hurt control, which is why you would need to play it with an attacker of some sort.
Right.
So I definitely think the senior knew what he was doing with that build. But moving forward, I don't think Lycanroc is necessarily the way to go about it. I think it would be better to just run Lucario to just get a big attack, because getting a KO is the same thing as clearing energy, right? You're accomplishing the same thing. So that's probably the easiest way to alleviate the Pikarom matchup without putting too much sauce into your deck and like ruining your consistency overall.
Okay. Isaiah, as a control player, any other control decks you like?
I mean, I think right now, like, the problem with control decks, the main issue that they run into in the standard meta is people playing Switch and cards like that to be able to easily move their active and change it. Malamar, if they play 2 Switch, it's almost impossible to beat. Zapdos can get kind of difficult just because they do play 6 Switch, so you can never, like, stick anything. So, and anything besides that, like, anything besides Zoroark, I think it's just not fast enough and not control-y enough, can't get enough cards to counter whatever strategy your opponent may pull off. So it's either like control Zoroark with some heavy attacker or nothing, really.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Well, let's talk about Pikarom. Catron, do you think Pikarom can adapt to beat Zapdos?
Yeah, I think Pikarom can actually be built in a very defensive way, where you play like Max Potions and Aether Paradise, and it just like can handle the one prize decks really efficiently, while also still having the aggression from like Coco Prism Star Energy Switch, and being able to just one shot a Zoroark out of nowhere. So I think it can handle the Zapdos. It's just whether that's like the most efficient way to go about building the deck.
Okay. Isaiah, what do you think about Pikarom?
I think that Pikarom actually, despite like what I feel like the general population thinks, that the matchup against Zapdos is actually not too bad. Like, if you can get the turn 1 full blitz into like the GX attack, you'll just take control of the game. So it's not like it's a horrible matchup or anything. It's just that the issue that the deck has against Zapdos and things like that is the Coco GX, that they can just drop that and take 3 prizes.
Yeah.
But that's the problem in my opinion. If there's a way to counter that, prevent that, maybe find some way to like not have to have so many energies in play, but still be able to apply a lot of pressure. Yeah, I think Pikarom's still a great deck. I'm sure we'll see a lot of it in Collinsville.
Okay, cool. Dan or Finn, anything to add on Pikarom?
I just want to say that I think if you're gonna play Pikarom for Collinsville, you should look past any list that isn't Jose's list, just because of the sheer consistency and power of it. Jose got a turn. I was playing top 8 against Isaiah. I looked next to me. Jose won on the second turn of the game by using Tag Bull GX to KO 2 Pokemon. So I mean, you could just imagine how that's even possible. I think it was actually. Yeah, it was the second turn of the game. It was his first turn, and he gets a turn 1 Tag Bolt GX. So, I mean, no other list is capable of doing that. Because it's like, you get the Coco for 2, you get Rayquaza for 3, you get Thunder Mountain, and then you get an attachment, so that's 5. and then I guess 4 E-switches or whatever, because he plays 4 E-switch to multi-switch. So I would definitely play that. I think the deck cannot survive any longer because people are wise enough to start playing things like Lucario and whatnot to deal with it. So I think if the deck does not win within the early turns of the game, or at least have a commanding lead, that it's going to be very difficult to finish out a game. So you want to play a really aggressive, fast, disruptive list like Jose's.
Yeah. Finn, anything to add?
I'm not a big fan of Pikarom, but I do think Jose's list is very good. I saw that and I was really impressed as well.
Finn, any thoughts on weakness policy in the format?
I think it could work in Pikarom if you're like scared of Lucario or Lycanroc. I don't think weakness policy is very good in anything else. Pretty much everything else is one prize based for the most part, so you don't really want weakness policy. The only time weakness policy is like good is if it's on something that's gonna give up multiple prizes, I feel like, and I don't think it's good in Zoroark, and it seems like Blacephalon's falling out of favor, so I mean, nothing plays water. Yeah, I don't know, weakness policy is probably only good in Pikarom.
Okay.
If even good in that deck.
Is anyone a fan of Passimian currently? Any Passimian fans? Nope. Okay.
Not really. It's like just not the best one prizer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fourth big deck that we saw. So we said Pikarom. We talked about Zapdos, obviously. Talked about Zoroark, Lucario, and Lycanroc. The fourth deck we saw was Malamar, but most of the Malamars dropped to the bottom of day 2. What caused that drop to day 2? Dan, why don't you start this?
So I think a couple main things about Malamar is that because it was the most widely played deck, that I think you're just gonna see more players going into day 2 who are just getting there off sheer variance and might start crumbling to, like, their own misplays and stuff, facing the really strong players in day 2. I also think that day 2 players were more ready for Malamar, and that in day 1 there were a lot of people who were like, I don't know what to play for this event, I'm gonna play whatever, and then they just lost to Ultra Necrozma. I also think that a lot of people were not controlling their bench. And then the last thing is just that, it's really easy for a deck to do, so well day 1 and then be in the bracket with a ton of players who just got, like, for example, what happened to Darren, he went 801 first seed or whatever, and then I'm pretty sure his day was like Mirror, Zapdos, and like, that's just an awful day for any Malamar player to have. So yeah, you just can't expect the deck to, because it can make day 2, it's the most widely represented deck, but moving on from there, that's when the real, like, strong players and strong decks start to, take control of everything.
Okay. Is there anything Malamar can do to adapt?
Well, yeah, the first thing I want to say is that I think Ultra Necrozma is not, like, the best variant. I think that deck just loses to Zapdos. People have this idea that if you just, like, GX with a Tina Ping, you win, but, like, when your whole deck is just based on 2 prize attackers and Zapdos can, like, kind of play around the GX by benching less Jirachi or something like that, you're going to lose a lot. I think Malamar is better with a focus on 1 prize attackers, specifically Giratina. I think if you play spell tags, you get a much better matchup against Zapdos, especially if they're relying on like using Escape Rope, because you just like bring up whatever has the spell tag out on it to ping that damage, and you pretty much force them into killing this like 130 HP one price Pokemon. They need 2 Electro Powers to do that. And if you have a spell tag on it, you can punish them for it. And then if you want to, you can kind of do the thing that Rukan talked about before, where you play 1 Metal and 1 Ultra just so you can get the GX off. So I think there's a lot that can be done to make Zapdos a better matchup. I just think players, for some reason, really like playing Ultra Necrozma.
Okay. I have one more question about the Big Four. It's actually about Zapdos again, but before I give you that, I want to give you a future question just so you guys can be thinking about it. I want you to be thinking about the best, like, wacky deck. Like, a deck that you like, that a lot of people don't like or don't know about, that you think can do well in this format. But for our Zapdos question, Isaiah, why is Zapdos good?
It's just that, like, okay, so a lot of people, they look at Zapdos for like 80 damage, like this is all you can do. It's terrible, right? But the thing about the card is that you do it turn 1, and you always do it turn 1. You don't miss the turn 1. Like, I'd go to say like you have over a 90% turn 1 attack with the deck. So you're just you're playing a 5 prize game, essentially, where they're not even starting the game until the second turn. From there, you have Triumph Punishment, you have Kukui, you have Choice Spin, you have Electro Power, Guzmas, so you're able to find the rest of the 5 prizes, and so it's just the sheer speed and amount of damage that you're able to put on the board. And then secondly, I would say it's one of the very few decks in the meta that can play Guzma turn 1, Guzma turn 2, Guzma turn 3, and Guzma turn 4, and then not just be ridiculous that you did that, because you have up to, you can do 4 Stellar Wishes in a turn, dig for that Guzma. Mm-hmm. So you have so much board control over your opponent, you can kill whatever you want. And you're just doing outrageous amounts of damage because you're just building up the combo.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
One more question on Zapdos. You said that you can hit every turn with it turn 1. Danny, do you ever go second with Zapdos?
So that's funny that you would ask. I actually chose to go second in Mirror every time I played against it. Because in Mirror, it's like, as Isaiah just said, it's so hard to whiff a KO that you want to always take the first KO, and you're not going to whiff because it's Zapdos. Right. So you just take the first KO, and then you're up on prize trade, and then I was told that it's actually safer to just go first, get out a Guru and a Tapu Koko, because they both have over 110 HP, and then force your opponent to have 2 Electro Powers to get a turn 1 KO, which makes it harder for them to find it in the late game. But that strategy is just so hard to make work that the safe play is always go second. The strategy can still happen if you whiff an attack. So I think going second ups your Mirror win rate by a ton. And then besides that, though, there is not really any advantage in going second, because the thing about going first is that it's a free turn, where going second you'll still have pressure, but going first is a free turn for Jirachi, where you can even retreat into another Jirachi, maybe you can Lily. So you get to build up a big hand, and that matters a lot, because any game that you go first and your hand is a turn 1 Lily plus a Stellar Wish, you're probably just going to win that game.
Right. Like when you're able to, like, especially in the Mirror, like you're saying, when you Lily and Stellar Wish 2 or 3 times turn 1, like you literally have all 6 prize cards sitting in your, like you have the route to all 6 of your prize cards already.
Do you also go second against Lost March?
Right. Okay. Well, I guess it doesn't matter much in that matchup, right? What do you say?
I think you would list dependent want to go second in Lost March, but because you have the Absol, they don't, so they might end up whiffing an attack. But yeah, with that logic, yeah, you more than likely would want to go second against Lost March.
Okay. Katron, which sort of off the radar wacky deck do you think can do well in this format?
I don't really know. I haven't been testing too much wacky stuff recently.
Okay.
With something.
I'll come back. I'll come back to you, or Finn can give us a second one because he seemed really excited about that question.
Yeah, I got all the whack stuff.
All right, Finn, so give us one.
I've been working on 2 decks specifically for a good minute now. Ever since I saw the new set was coming out. The first one is Alolan Muck, the new one with Trashalanche. So it's just like all 1 prize stuff. And in case you guys don't know, that Alolan Mux says when you put it down, you look at the top 6 cards of your opponent deck and discard as many items you see there as you want. So you can like power up a quick Trash Lynch for a lot of damage quickly. But it's also really cool because you like really cripple their consistency in the process. So for example, if you go against a Malamar, you can just like discard an Escape Board, a Treasure, and an Ultra Ball or something like that. And then it's really harder for them to set up Malamars, and like you blow off the other Escape Board they put down, so they can't retreat with Jirachi as much. So that's the concept that I think is probably more likely to be good. I think it's really fun for one, but yeah, I like that one. And then the other deck is Darkrai Zoroark, which is probably less likely to be good because of the fighting weakness, but it gained a lot of new stuff because it's the Resurrection Darkrai, by the way. I have it built right here. But you can use Viridian to discard Darkrai's, and like you can use Viridian to discard Darks, and you just like Resurrection. You can also trade the Darkrai's, and then you have Black Market Prism Star. So like you have all these, you know, basic Dark energy on Dark Pokemon. So Black Market's busted. But yeah, that's the idea.
What did you mean by you can use Viridian to discard Darks and Darkrai's?
So like just because it says you discard a card from your hand, you can either discard a Dark Energy or discard a Darkrai, which both work really well for Darkrai's ability because it says get a Darkrai and attach a Dark from it, both from your discard pile, and put it on your bench. So you want both Dark Energy and Darkrai in your discard pile.
So Viridian Forest says discard a card and search for an energy?
Yeah, it does.
I didn't miss the discard part on that. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
That card is like, it's like twice as good because you discard a card, actually.
Yeah.
Crazy.
All right. I like that idea. So you can read about those on Cut or Tap in a couple weeks, right?
Actually, just right now, like, I already posted them on the site. I'm going to have updated lists up within the next 2 days.
When'd you post them?
Like week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
All right. Awesome.
But like I said, updated lists for those two tomorrow, and then like other updated lists for real decks as well.
Tomorrow will be today. So right now you can get the updated list on Cut or Tap for those. Awesome. Isaiah, a weird deck.
I think Danny will really like this one. So actually, that's more of an alteration to a top tier deck, and it's Blacephalon with spell tap. And this one was Danny's idea. Came out of the lab before in the 2 days before the tournament when we were just trying to figure out what's going on. And the idea is that like, okay, so you have Naganadel as a one prize attacker against all the one prizer decks, but you just throw in spell tags and you spell tag the Naganadel. So you're hitting them repeatedly with Naganadel, taking multi-prize turns with the spell tags, and then like you can end the game with like Blacephalon, Burst GX, something like that. And then you have Blacephalon naturally against the big GX decks to just take large one-shots. So you're kind of beating the one-prizer decks and you're beating GX decks at the same time. Now, the problem with the deck is that like you're putting Spell Tag and Blacephalon, and so like it's kind of inconsistent. But if you could figure out a way to make it work, make it run smoothly, which is you probably didn't get enough time to figure out, I think it'd actually be really strong.
Awesome. Danny.
All right, so for me, I've been preaching this on Twitter for a little bit, but I legitimately think that the Disconnect Luxio is a broken card in this format. I haven't had too much time to break it because I was like, OCIC is worth 10k, I'd rather just win that event and then maybe worry about breaking the format after. But I'm cooking up Luxio, and honestly, I think it's broken. You one-shot Zapdos with an E-Power, and even if you don't, they can't do anything against you because they can't play items. Half the format right now is very heavily item-reliant. And I think that there's just so much support for lightning types right now, like with the Electro Charger and Electro Power, that this deck just reminds me of the old Toad decks where your opponent just sits there doing nothing until they shake your hand that you won. So like you have Electro Charger and Electro Power, which is the same thing as Laser Bank, and then you have Disconnect, which is literally the same thing as Quaking Punch, and you can use it turn one. So I don't know why people are not using it, but get on it ASAP.
All right, I like that. I've liked that card for a long time, and everything I built with it was terrible. All right, let's. We have a couple more questions, and then we are done. So we'll start with Catron again on this one. which two decks do you not want to lose to? Like, either you expect there to be a ton of them, or you just hate the deck. Going into St. Louis, which two decks do you not want to lose to?
Definitely Zapdos. Definitely don't want to lose to Zapdos. That's gonna be big. And then I guess probably Pikarom would be the next one I don't want to lose to. Just not losing to Lightning seems pretty strong. Maybe Zoroark's a better one to not take a loss to, but I'd choose Pikarom.
Cool. Isaiah.
Yeah, so I agree with Catron, Zapdos for sure. Yeah, honestly, just Zapdos, Pikarom. It's the same as OCIC. I feel like those are gonna be the biggest two decks.
Okay. Danny.
My opinion differs a little bit. I think Pikarom and Zapdos are gonna be huge, and are probably just the best one prize and GX decks respectively. But I think that too many people are comfortable with Zoroark, and I think that after the first event of the new format is when all the Zoroark show up, because they're like, all right, I know what my 60 is gonna be this time. I'll give it a go for this event, and if it doesn't work, then I'll move on after that. So I think there's gonna be a ton of Zoroark. I think there's going to be a ton of Zoroarkio, and there's going to be a ton of Zoromuck garbage. So people are just going to be running rampant with Zoroark decks in Collinsville for sure.
Very cool. Finn.
Yeah, I agree with Danny. I'd want to beat Zapdos and Zoroark. I think, yeah, no, pretty much just what he said. I don't think I have anything extra to add, actually.
Okay. Last question. What is the one deck that was the best deck that you will not be playing for sure in Collinsville? Finn, you can start.
Well, that would be any of them because
Right.
I'm not attending. But if I was, probably Zapdos. I just don't like to play what won the last event. I like to counter it. So, yeah, Zapdos.
Catron.
I will not be playing any of the top 4 decks for sure.
Okay. So Zapdos.
Yeah.
Isaiah.
Probably Pikarom.
Respect. Going back to Zapdos. Danny.
Yeah, I also agree with Pikarom. I think I would not touch that with a 10-foot pole. The deck is just there's too much variance involved, and like you just don't want to succumb. You don't want to have to deal with variance in such a huge event, and then just get bodied by it, and then just have an awful day where it just completely went out of your hands.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Finn, why don't you start us off with shoutouts?
Shout out to PPG and Ultra Pro. They're my sponsors. Check out my website, cuttertap.com. If you want to do coaching, send me an email at cuttertap@gmail.com. Shout out to everybody I coach. Love you guys. And shout out to all my subscribers.
Danny, go ahead.
Shout out to Team DDG for sure. Absolutely broken team, insane team. Shout out to the Team DDG PTCG YouTube channel. There's a bunch of stuff we have going on there as far as deck lists and stuff, and we're not really cutting into the Seagrove content, so definitely check that out. And then shout out to the gang. You know who you are, Broken Gang.
And I think you guys have lost, between the internationals and the regionals, I think you've lost one. And by lost, I mean you got second. Isaiah, you're up.
Yeah, so shout out to DDG, best team in the game, best sponsor in the game. Shout out to Poke Beach. I just started writing for them, and I'm really excited to produce some more articles for them. Actually, today, my tournament report came out. So it's yesterday, if you're watching the video, and it's good. Poke Beach, check it out. And shout out to Gang. You guys know who you are. Shout out to Uncle Ben. Yeah.
All right. Catron, you're up.
Well, I don't really have a sponsor, so we're gonna shout out Altoids. They're pretty good. Oh, wait, I forgot. I write for someone's PC. I'll shout them out too.
Altoids on someone's PC. Sounds legit.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for watching, and good luck to everybody at Collinsville. Peace.